Why, though, do you think that hiring continues to look so weak?
Well, as I say, it is partly a legacy of those tax hikes we had last year and also the big increase in national living wage we saw last April. Now, neither of those things are being repeated, or at least not to the same extent this April. So I think that is a part of it. That global environment also having an impact as well. So let's see. I mean, I think one of the focuses this year, if you wanted to kind of paint an upside risk for the UK, it is that the Bank of England has started cutting rates. Thus far, we've not really seen the impact on growth, but you could imagine, household and business balance sheets are fairly healthy. If you want to be optimistic about the UK, maybe some of these numbers turn around later this year as those rate cuts begin to hit.
How is the Bank of England reading this week's data, though, especially that slightly higher inflation number?
Well, I think they won't take too much away from those inflation numbers. They were slightly higher than expected, but there is a bit of noise under the surface as well. Food inflation did pick up in December, but it is still well down on where the bank expected it to be. And that's really important because the Bank of England, particularly the hawks, were worried about rising food prices last summer. Would that translate into higher inflation expectations? Would that give us an inflation backdrop that was more persistent, a little bit like we saw 2 or 3 years ago? Those fears now look overblown. And what we're going to see over the next few months is inflation is going to drop quite dramatically. We're at 3.4% now. I think we're going to be below 2% in April. So a lot's going to change.
When, though, are you seeing that next cut from the bank, and indeed how many this year?
We're expecting 2 more cuts. I think they could come in March and June. I think by March we're going to have 2 more jobs and wage figures. The jobs numbers we mentioned are already weak, but also the wage numbers have been really benign as well. That private sector wage growth looks like it's going to drop to, say, 3% over the coming months, down from 6% at the start of last year. So if we keep seeing that over the next couple of months, that should unlock a March move. And as I say, if headline inflation really does come down as we and others expect, then June should also be on the table too.